few days ago, I went to a Kundalini activation and I had never been to one, but was so curious about it. And what really drew me to this one is that number one, it was close to me. And number two, I had seen a few others in the area that I live, but they never really, I don't know, I just didn't feel the call to go to them. But this one, the practitioner who was running it and just the location where it was and the timing of my life, it just seemed right. I didn't really know what to expect. What I'd seen online on social media is usually the practitioners put their hands over people's chakras and then the people shake, like they shake and they scream. And so it always looked really scary. And I think that was a part of the reason why I had never gone. I mean, I'd seen this for the last few years. It'd come up on my feed a few times, but it always sort of freaked me out. But this time I just felt really pulled to go. And I feel like when you're really called to do something and something shows up in your life and you've been looking for, energetic release or something to help you, that the right things will show up in your life at that time. So I decided to sign up. And basically when I got there, it was actually quite low key. There was about 11 people. There was the practitioner there, and she explained how the session would work. And beforehand, about when I signed up, I had also received a video of her explaining it as well. So she just did like a reiteration during the session. And first we did some breath work, and then she asked us all to lay down on our backs with our heads facing the center. So the mats were all lined up on either side of the room, and then our heads were facing sort of the center of the room. Then basically we were asked to just surrender and just let go, which can be very hard to do, especially if you're new to this, because your mind is obviously overthinking. For me, my mind is overthinking, but I've done a lot of meditation, so I sort of know how to get myself to really calm down and ease myself and just trust the process. So first she started walking around, and I think she just went to people that she was called to go to, and she started releasing and doing her work. Now all of our eyes were closed, and she had specifically asked that no one open their eyes during the session, just to really be able to surrender, but also to allow comfort for everyone else there, because everyone is going through their own journey and you never know how someone's body is going to react. So with some of the people there, they were screaming quite loudly and they were shaking. Even though my eyes were closed, I could feel the room moving because they were shaking so much. The practitioner had put on really loud music as well, so that it added to the comfort. It almost sounds like it wasn't comfortable, but it actually was, because the music was in line with this sort of event. And so you felt comfortable enough to surrender, to scream if you needed to do whatever you need to release that energy. So she went around to a few of the people, and then she came to me, and what she basically did was go straight to like my solar plexus. Now again, my eyes are closed, I'm laying down, and she took her hand and put it on my solar plexus, and she was there for a little bit. I could hear her like chanting, and then she moved her hand up towards my heart and then up towards my throat. Now I know I have a lot of throat chakra issues, just from I think this is really common, like the blockages from like silencing ourselves or like not saying what we really feel and what we really want to say. And this is something I've been working on for a long time, but it's still there. It's an ongoing process. So my body wasn't shaking. Like I wasn't shaking how I had seen in a lot of the videos. But what was happening was that I could feel a lot of heat in my chest and my body, and I could feel energy rising. And my chest just automatically just sort of went up as I was laying down, and then it would go up again. So it was like releasing. It felt really interesting. And then when she came up to my throat, I just felt like there was sound that needed to be released. So I started sort of moaning. I think that's the best way to explain it. I wasn't screaming at the top of my lungs, but it was just like a really low and loud like moan. That went on for a few minutes, and then it sort of calmed down. And then about 15 minutes later, I was just sort of, really into really into surrendering, really into my body, really focused on what was happening. And she had moved on, the practitioner had moved on to other people in the room. But I all of a sudden had these thoughts and these visions come up of Mother Nature first, and like sadness, a really strong feeling of sadness for her. And then also I started thinking about my ancestors, and specifically like the male lineage of my ancestors and everything that they've gone through and the struggles. And I started having these like visions sort of like the different generations and the different struggles they've gone through. And I couldn't stop crying. I cried so much. And I'm a very silent crier when I cry, but in this one, I was like wailing almost. It was such a long and sad cry. So after that, I calmed down a bit, and I think that was the biggest release, was more like the crying. It was such a big release for me, a big energy release. And then I felt like, I think she was standing above my forehead because I could feel heat here around like my third eye. And then the session went on for about an hour and 15. And then we stopped, and we all, did a big sigh, and we all sat up. And then we all shared how we all felt. And for me, I think the biggest learning is that we all hold a lot of patterns in our body, and there's a lot of different types of energy work that you can do to help release it. And for this, there's I've always known there's been like a block in my solar plexus, my heart, my throat chakra, and this just really made it more apparent. So for me, this is more of a learning of things I need to continue to work on, even in my spare time, being really aware of how I feel, really going into my body space and releasing what I can myself, working with different practitioners to help me through the process as well. And it was just a really, really beautiful few hours. We were there for 2 hours, and everyone was really open and no one was judgmental. It felt like a really safe space. And she's running them once a month, which is really cool. So I probably will sign up to it again. But I think for me, this is where sort of I'm in life, like really exploring and looking at all the different things that really pull me and that interest me. For a long time, I felt I wanted to be like a healer, and I've done Reiki on people before. I do it regularly still on like my daughter and my husband, and they really enjoy it. And I do it on myself. I actually did Reiki on myself last night. I don't do it for really people other than myself or the family. But the more I do it and the more I go to these sessions, I realize that that's probably not my calling and that's not where I want to go. However, that is something that I'm interested in getting done for myself. And I'm saying this, but maybe in 10 years, maybe in 5 years, my mind will change. But right now where I am, that's definitely not where I want to go. But if this is something that you feel called to, I highly recommend that you do your research, talk to your doctor or the practitioner if you need to. But I highly recommend signing up for it and going towards the things that you're pulled to do. There's a reason for that.